What's up, y'all? I'm so excited about what I'm about to talk about, okay? So I'm going to dive right on in. Now, you may have heard me say this before because I've said this a few times on different platforms, but I've been on a journey to eating a diet that helps my body to thrive. I've been on that journey for a very, very long time. I would say, like, the absolute very first time that I began trying to make sure I was eating the right things was 2008, okay? Um, and just from that point all the way up until now, 2025, my diet has tremendously transformed. Okay, so it there was a period of knowledge, getting knowledge, finding out what I'm supposed to eat, trying to figure out what my goal even was. Okay, and then after that, there was a period of like a struggle back and forth, me eating what I know I should be eating, but going back to what I like to eat, eating what I know I should be eating, but going back and forth, 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 right? But in recent years, I finally got to a point where I was more concerned about my spiritual health, and as I fall in love more and more with Yahuwah and I mature, I want to please Him and I want to do well and I want to move forward and elevate. So I went ahead and just changed my diet. Okay, so I feel like I'm doing well. I got a good momentum going. Like I'm eating. He called me off of meat a few years ago, like maybe 4 or 5 years ago. He told me to stop eating meat and dairy. I'm like, okay, I'm done with the meat and the dairy. I'm off the sugar, like you said. Everything's organic, and I thought I was, in a good place. And it was at that time, I feel like as soon as I got there, he was like, "You eat too much," and I'm like, "What? I eat too much?" But as I thought about it, I realized I really was eating too much. And I can say this: two two reasons why I was eating too much, okay? Or maybe more than two, okay? Cultural, also childhood trauma. The childhood trauma part, I would say that when I was younger, like I'm from a broken home. My parents were divorced when I was 5, and my mother went straight to work. She was at work all the time. So she went from eating, making home cooked meals all the time and making us like just having a bounty. We went from having a bounty all the time to feeling like there was lack because you might not know when your next meal is coming. The next meal that comes might not be something that you like. It might be bologna. It might be a pot pie. It might be some ramen noodles, a hot pocket, or just something that you didn't want to eat. Okay. So I feel like that's where a spirit of gluttony attached to me. It was because uh, let me tell you about the spirit of gluttony. We're gonna get to the definition and all that. But the root of I'm kind of getting ahead of myself. The root of the spirit of gluttony is the spirit of poverty. Okay, it's rooted in lack. So by me feeling like I didn't have what I wanted, I started making these inner vows like, when I grow up, I'm eating this. And when I get older, I'm having that. And I ain't never doing this for my kids and making all these inner vows of what I was going to do and how I was going to eat. And I did exactly what I said I was going to do. Exactly that. But I would say that's the first way that I started dealing with eating too much. All right. And then you can add in trauma. You can add in whatever unhealed wounds that I had. You can add that in. Okay. Then the other part of it was way down the road after I changed my diet. I got to a place like after I had my 7th baby, ironically, I lost a whole lot of weight, more weight. Like I became smaller than I was even before I was pregnant with my other children. But the reason was because I drastically changed my diet. So now my diet is different in a way that I had never eaten before. So the weight that I had lost weight like from not eating dairy, not eating meat. I had never done that before. I had gotten off sugar. I had gotten off wheat. So like with my 5th baby, I was off sugar and wheat and I lost some weight. Okay. And then here comes the 7th baby. Now I'm off dairy and meat. So here I am, an American for the first time ever, I'm not eating the 4 most common things that Americans eat, which is wheat, sugar, dairy, and meat. So I'm not eating that and I lose all this weight. I go from Right after I had my first baby, I was 170 pounds. Okay. And I mean, like the day after I had him, I'm like 175, 170 pounds or so. Now, my normal weight is probably like, it used to be like 160. Okay. Before I, before I had my first baby when I was 18 years old, I was 150 pounds. I felt like that was my ideal weight, perfect weight. I loved that weight. Everything was balanced. That was the perfect weight for me. So 165 was like, I was cool with that. I was comfortable with that. If I got down to 160, okay, 150, that'd be great. So I'm just trying to give you context so you can see what I mean by I lost a lot of weight. So I go from 170 to 130 in, let's see, he was born in March, probably maybe in like 6 or 7 months. Okay. 170 to like 130. But I did go a little bit past 130. I actually got down to 127. And I did not like the weight. I did not like that weight. As a matter of fact, that's how I started working out. I had never in my life consistently worked out and actually like did weight training until I lost a lot of weight, because when I lost that weight, I was like, man, what happened? You know? And I started eating more food. I was trying to bulk up. I was trying to eat extra so I can gain it back. But the foods that I was eating was not going to allow me to like gain that much weight. So I could normally, if I wanted to gain weight, it'd be easy for me to gain weight because all I had to do was eat a whole bunch of bread or eat some cheese, eat some meat, eat extra this, eat extra that. But if I'm not eating sugar, wheat, dairy, or meat, like what am I really using to gain weight? Now I can gain muscle, but to just gain weight real fast like that wasn't that easy for me. And I started kind of realizing like, is this how I'm supposed to look? So the way that you see me now, I used to be bigger than this, but it literally took me a few years to get comfortable at this weight because I had to accept the fact that this is the weight that I am when I'm eating a diet that is right for me. So if the weight that I desired, I can only achieve that by eating the diet that I got away from, then I can only conclude that the weight that I am eating the diet that is good for me is the way that I'm supposed to be. And one of the main things that made me realize that this is probably the way I was always supposed to look is because my siblings, we all say we don't look alike. Okay. Um, People have even asked us if we were really siblings. So my older sister, same mama, same daddy. I never thought we looked alike. I've never heard anybody ever say we looked alike. When I lost weight, I was like, dang, we look alike. Like I never thought that in my entire life that we looked alike. Now, mind you, this is only 4 years ago. I was like, I'm starting to look like her. That's weird. So that really made me kind of feel like, is this how I'm supposed to look? So just understanding that this is probably the weight that I'm supposed to be brought me to be at peace with it. Anything else that I want to gain, because you want to have your hips as a woman, you want to keep your hips, you want to keep your breasts, you want to keep your butt. That's fine, but we cannot hide behind waist. All right. If you want your hips and your butt and your breasts to look a certain way, that's fine. But we don't want our breasts to be filled with toxic waste. We don't want our hips to be filled with backed up waste from our system. You know what I'm saying? Like we want, if you want weight and curves, you want to like weight train and lift weights and turn it into muscle, and your curves will be muscle. All right. So I realized that when I was trying to eat, after y'all told me you eat too much, I realized that when I was trying to gain my weight back and I was eating a whole lot of food, I never stopped doing that. Even after I became at peace with the weight that I am, I didn't stop eating the amount that I was eating. And I think it was because for the first time in my life, I felt like I had a license to eat because I wasn't gaining weight. See, my weight used to fluctuate and I would gain and lose and gain and lose. And it was easy for me to gain a lot of weight. And I didn't like the way I looked, and I would lose some and then gain it. But this is the first time in my life where I can eat whatever I want. And I'm still 130, 140, right? So I didn't stop eating too much because I wasn't gaining too much weight. All right. So really gauging if you're eating too much based off of how you look is really vanity, because there are other factors that we should be looking at, like our health. Like, are you able to eliminate the waste? And I don't want to get ahead of myself, but there are other things that you need to look at to know whether or not you're eating too much. All right. So I realized that I had a spirit of gluttony on me. I was like, I didn't even want to admit it. I was just like, dang, I do eat too much. At this time, I didn't even call it gluttony, but I was just saying, I do eat too much. Like, let me kind of pay attention to what I'm eating. So I started paying attention to what I was eating. I started realizing, like, dang, like, I do find myself eating when I'm not even hungry. And I do find myself like eating because just for no reason. So I started observing myself. I think I took about a good year really, truly just observing myself. So, first of all, let's talk about the definition of gluttony. The definition of gluttony, according to Oxford, is the habit of eating or drinking too much. Simple enough. Emphasis on habit. Remember that habit doesn't mean you ate too much tonight. Okay, doesn't mean you did it once or twice. Doesn't mean you ate something you should have ate, every now and then. No, this is a habit, meaning a lifestyle. The Merriam-Webster dictionary, a little different. Excess in eating or drinking, first definition. Second one, greedy. Greedy is such a funny word. Greedy or excessive indulgence. Now I like that too. Greedy or excessive indulgence. I want to use that word greedy because I don't think we like the word greedy. I don't think we like the word greedy because of what it entails, but we need to hear it. We need to hear it because it's the truth. We greedy. A lot of us are greedy. Okay. So now that we understand what gluttony is, because a lot of us don't really know what it is, like we say things not really having a concrete definition, understanding, or anything to understand what we're actually doing. So this is why I love definitions, so we can know what we're talking about. And also gluttony also includes drinking, particularly alcohol. So I want to talk about signs of gluttony. And the reason why I want to talk about signs of gluttony, because this is the subject that I know that the Most High is speaking this to a lot of people. I've been hearing other people talk about this. That's how I knew that, so you ain't just talking to me. You ain't just calling me greedy. That's how I knew, okay, this is something he's saying. So I felt led to share what he's been speaking to my spirit, because I see that he's speaking this into his people right now. So I want to talk about signs of gluttony. Before we even talk about, I just told you what gluttony is. Before we even talk about examining the spirit of gluttony in our own lives, let's even see, how do I know if I'm gluttonous? Okay, where's the scale? How do I measure this? I'm gonna give you some signs of gluttony. Signs of gluttony. So you have eating for taste. We know a lot of us do that. We eat just because it tastes good. Doesn't matter the nutritional value, doesn't matter the toxic load, doesn't matter if it's good for you or not, doesn't matter where it came from, nothing. It tastes good, right? Also, another thing that doesn't matter when it tastes good is how full we are. Another thing that doesn't matter when it tastes good is how late at night it is. So just think about that. You're just eating for taste because you just want to taste it. And I have to say this because this is so, I just got this just about an hour ago when I was writing this stuff down. The Most High gave me this wisdom, and this could be an entire different episode, but I want to say this. When you're eating for taste, you have separated the purpose of eating from the pleasure of eating. Okay? So the purpose of eating is to fuel the body, right? Yahuwah created eating to fuel the body. Now let's not make it boring. He created food to fuel the body, but that's not the only thing that we get out of eating. There are several things we get out of eating. I'll talk about that another time. And if it was just about fueling the body, then we would be drinking some kind of nutritious supplement like they had on the Matrix. Anybody seen the Matrix? Like, if you haven't, like, you got to see the Matrix. If you want to understand some of the things I've been talking about, you probably gonna need to see it. But if it was just about fueling the body, that's what we would be eating. It would be like some white substance. So on the Matrix, they were eating like just some white bowl of porridge, and it was the same thing. They had the same thing every single day. It was full of all of the vitamins, nutrients, minerals that they needed, and that's all they ate every single day. But we serve a creative Elohim. He is so creative. He has so many colors, so many bounties, so many flavors. He loves when we're creative and we do healthy things to the food that he's given us, right? So He wants us to fuel our body, and he wants us to have pleasure while we're fueling our body. But he doesn't want us to remove the purpose of the food to fuel from the pleasure of it and just leave the pleasure part. Okay. And when you do that, similarly to the way that people separate the purpose of sex from the pleasure of sex, okay? If you completely sever and separate that relationship, then you end up with what? Perversion. Okay, so perversion is not just in sex. Perversion is anytime you change the use of something. Basically, you invert the use of it. So if you're only eating food for taste and you're not thinking about refueling the body, you're not thinking about the health of the body, making the body thrive, then you have perverted eating. That means that your diet is perverted. Okay, so that's a whole other episode, but I want to say that one point. So eating for taste. Eating because of time says that you should. All right. This is eating because of cultural reasons. So, like right now in American culture, we eat breakfast time sometime around 8, 7, 8, 9 o'clock, right? And then we have lunchtime, which is around noon. And then we even threw in a brunch just so we can eat a little bit extra, just so we can make sure we're digesting at all times. There's brunch, and that's between breakfast and lunch. So really between 7 in the morning all the way until noon, maybe even 1 o'clock, is perfectly a good time to be eating. Um, and truly in America, the way things are done now, there's no more window. I mean, the window for eating is just completely wide open. But let's just say the regular eating times is like around 8, 7, 8 in the morning. Then you got noon, you got dinner time in the evening, 5, 6, 7, something like that. So if you're eating just because those times tell you, then and you're not hungry, then this is operating gluttony. So yes, maybe it's dinner time, but if you're not hungry, maybe you shouldn't eat. Breakfast time, if you don't want to eat breakfast, then don't eat breakfast. What I know a lot of people have been saying, oh, breakfast is the most important meal of the day, when a lot of people don't even like to eat breakfast, right? So some people have even started eating breakfast just because somebody else told them that they should, even though their body is saying, I don't want that. So just because it's a mealtime doesn't mean that you have to eat. I've even seen people like, it's late at night. Let's say it's 7 o'clock and you just realize, oh my God, I didn't eat anything today. I haven't eaten all day long. And then you go eat something. Well, it's okay to miss. Okay. Like if you went all this time without eating, unless you just got some kind of condition where you are constantly doing this and is, affecting your body. If you can go the whole day without eating, just go to bed. Like you don't have to put food in your body and then go to bed. So when we go to sleep, our digestive system should be settled. It should be emptying itself, and we should not be like starting digestion or in the middle of digestion while we go to sleep. That's really bad for your health. As soon as I learned that, I cut it out. The next one is eating for entertainment. Like we be eating for fun. Like we be bored and just want to eat. You ever have children come up to you and just be like, can I have this? Can I have that? They be like, I'm bored, and they just want to eat something for fun. Give them a cookie and they get a dopamine hit, and that was fun for them. Sometimes we're eating just for entertainment. We see some food and we see something that looks good, and we be like, oh man, I want to go get that. And there's nothing wrong with seeing a food that you want and deciding that you want to eat it as long as it's good for you. But we don't want to just immediately see it, like it, and just go get it. We gotta ask yourself, are you even hungry? Like if you're going out to eat, should you even be eating at that time? Like we don't have to eat like just for fun. We need to like make sure that we need to make sure that our eating is governed by what our body actually needs, and not just we're just eating whenever. Okay. Again, going back to separating the purpose from the pleasure is perversion. Um, Eating to this is huge. This is so big. I talk about this a lot. I talk about this on my podcast too. If you don't know, I got my podcast. It's called That Plant Life Podcast. And I talk a lot about food, plant-based eating, the emotional, physical, practical, spiritual aspects of eating and securing food, all of that. Anything that can help you to improve your diet, elevate your journey quickly. Listen to that. So eating to soothe strong emotions like grief, sadness, depression, anger, stress. So these are some of the biggest um, emotions that drive us to eat. So, and the reason being is because there are certain properties in food that soothe those emotions. For example, if you are in depression or you are sad, then eating sugar will light up your brain and give you a dopamine release. And when you get that dopamine release, you feel a little bit better. So people who are in depression, they often want to feel better, and they may find themselves doing things that will give them a dopamine release, even though those things are often destructive to the body. So those big emotions, you'll eat to soothe those strong emotions. And the first time that I found myself eating to soothe emotions, like I always heard people talk about emotional eating, but I didn't know what that meant. Um, so I remember my children had done something. I don't know, at that time I probably had a newborn and a whole bunch of little ones. And I don't know, I was fussing at my children about something. And then I just remember walking to the kitchen and I go in straight to the cabinet and I had dark chocolate. I would keep dark chocolate at all times. I always kept one pack. Everybody knew it was just for me. So I had one pack of dark chocolate. I went in there and I broke off a piece and I ate it, eyebrows all frowned up. And that was the first time that I caught myself that the Ruach just showed me, you just ate that because you felt stressed. And I was like, oh my God, I just did that for an emotional reason. I never noticed it. And then I started realizing, is that why I always want dark chocolate? Like, is that always the trigger behind me eating it? And eventually I put that away because I started realizing, like, this is not a good habit. Like, I don't need to be going to eat food as soon as I feel an emotion that feels too overwhelming. So that was the first time that I noticed myself emotionally eating. But then after that, I began to observe myself more and more and more and started to realize the connection between emotions and the food choice that you make. So when you find yourself eating, I'm gonna give you an example, okay? Because you might think like I thought. I used to think like, oh, I'm not over here crying and eating like, oh, I just miss John, nothing like that. But sometimes, let's say you feel grief, okay? Let's say you miss your grandmother. Maybe your grandmother passed away and you just had a thought and you just like, man, I miss my grandma. Like, man, I miss her. And right there in that emotion, you're feeling grief. And the next thing with grief is you want to be comforted. And that comfort might come from thinking about a memory about your grandma. What made you feel close to your grandmother? Maybe your grandmother cooked a lot. Maybe she cooked really good food. Maybe it was some favorite dishes that she used to make for you. And then you may not even notice and you might not even catch on to it. It could be hours later. But you could just be like, man, I got a taste for a roast. I'm gonna make a roast today. Matter of fact, I'll make a roast and a sweet potato. Man, I'm making roast and macaroni. I used to make roast. I used to make chuck roast and macaroni and cheese. I'm making a roast, some macaroni, and a sweet potato pie, right? So you go to the store, you get all this stuff, you come back, you cook it for your family. Your family like, oh, you made roast. Oh my God, we have a macaroni, sweet potato pie. They are so excited, right? And you feeling like I just wanted to bless my family. I just really just want to cook something that they would enjoy. I just felt it in my heart to make something good for them. And they're just like, man, I love my mom. My mama just made the best thing ever. They happy as I don't know what. You thought what you did was just out of love. It wasn't just out of love. It was not just out of love. You may not have been paying attention, but you did it out of grief. It was grief. That meal was triggered by grief. You were grieving, you felt down and you miss your grandma. So the emotion that was connected to that is you wanted to feel comfort. You missed her. You wanted to feel that memory again. You wanted to feel close to her again. So you subconsciously thought of a way to soothe that memory. And then you came up with this meal idea, which was something that she cooked. And it was something that you ate. And when you ate it, you felt like your grandma was with you. You felt connected to her. You felt comfort. You felt safe. You felt like everything was regular and everything was held together before your life fell apart, before the family fell apart. And so the feeling that you felt to make that roast felt amazing. And to you, it felt like just pure love. And I just want to give this to my family. And you didn't even realize it was grief. That's deep, right? That's deep, right? But here's the thing, there's nothing wrong with being motivated to do something maybe you were triggered by a certain memory and now you want to do that. That's fine. But if it crosses the boundary of what you should be eating, if it crosses the boundary of the things that Yahuwah said stop eating, if it crosses the boundary of the things that are going to fuel the conditions that are in your body, then you can't do that. You gotta cut that off. You gotta be like, man, I miss my grandma, but let me figure out another way that I can recreate this in a way that's healthy to my body. Okay, so let's pay attention to emotional triggers and what we choose to eat and what we choose to give our family. All right, I gotta make another episode about that. Let me write that down because I gotta make a whole episode about how we are feeding our family out of our own emotions. And where can it help? Hold on. So, next thing, eating mindlessly. You ever just catch yourself putting something in your mouth? You ever been on a fast? I know y'all did this. You ever been on a fast and then you start eating something, you eating, and then you be like, oh, I forgot I was on a fast. Okay, the same kind of thought that comes along with that, where you just find yourself eating something because it's there. You didn't even really plan to eat it. You didn't even really want it. You missed the part where you desired it. You just find yourself eating it. Let's talk about that, what the Ruach revealed to me concerning mindless eating. Here's why you should not be mindlessly eating, because Yahuwah said, be sober. He wants you to be sober minded, be sober, be vigilant, for your adversary is walking about like a roaring lion, seeking whom he may devour. So if you are not present in your body, all right, watch this. Now, this is something I know about. Not being present in your body, you regularly disconnect from your body. You might not even know that you're doing it. I didn't know that I was doing it. I didn't know that I was doing it until a lot of people were talking about it. Like, for example, people would say something about dissociating. I'm like, and then when they show an example of dissociating, you kind of check out. It's like, what's the problem? I'm like, I don't see the problem. I don't see how that's hurting nobody, ain't hurt me, ain't hurt you. But this is something that Yahuwah told me. He said, when you dissociate, meaning disconnect from yourself, you zone out. Maybe you're feeling a huge emotion. Maybe you feel overwhelmed. Maybe you're feeling some sadness, some anger, whatever. And you kind of just fall back in your spirit, in your soul. You just kind of just disconnect, like, right. It might look like this to a lot of people. See what I'm saying? Instead of you acting out on that emotion, or instead of you just kind of like wallowing in it. Some people may wallow in it. Some people may act out on it. And some people may just disconnect, like, whatever, man, just dissociate it, right? So you kind of just not feel the emotion. You disconnect yourself from the emotional part of it, which is also known as numbing yourself. Now, if you grew up doing that, like if you in your childhood, you had childhood trauma and you were doing that, you would develop a habit of doing it. Like I did. I developed a habit of doing it. So when I was doing it, I didn't even know I was doing it. Right. So I was just like disconnected. And then disconnecting becomes comfortable, because when you're disconnected, if it just feels great. You don't have to feel nothing, right? Which is not good though. But you get a habit of not feeling anything. So let me tell you what happens. So when you're not feeling anything and you're disconnected emotionally, then your body, your flesh will begin to do things to soothe itself, because the captain then left. Okay, the captain left the ship. So the body is over here doing stuff to make itself feel better, to soothe itself, to give itself what it needs, because you're not there present to process everything and then decide what you should do with the needs that you have, to soothe the needs that you have. Okay, which in the context of a believer, you need to be present, and the captain, which is you are the captain of your body. You need to be present, and you need to be in the mind of Yahuwah. You need to be in the Ruach. Okay, walk in the spirit, walk in the Ruach, and you shall not fulfill the lust of the flesh. You shall not fulfill the lust of what is the lust of the flesh? What the flesh want to do. And the flesh does what it wants to do when you are not present, when you're walking in the flesh and you're not in the spirit, meaning you're not in the spirit, meaning you are dissociated, you are disconnected, you are numb. Your spirit is over here and your flesh is over here doing whatever it wants. So your spirit is over here like, man, and your flesh is over here just having a good old time. That's how you end up putting food in your mouth you ain't even need it. So you over here dealing with some issues in your flesh, like, man, I'm hurting, I'm sad, I'm depressed, I'm angry, I got some things going on, like what we gonna do? And you, spirit, the one in charge, the one Yahoo has given he's giving you dominion and power over this vessel, right? He's giving it to you. It's a blessing to you to be able to occupy this vessel. But when you are going through, you separate the authority that you have over this vessel and you just leave the vessel to itself. So the vessel just start doing whatever it want to do. It's over there eating a honey bun in the middle of the night because you won't. It's over there eating a honey bun in the middle of the night because you don't want to deal with that wound that you have from your mother. You want to get up at 2 o'clock at 2:50 in the morning when really you're supposed to be getting up praying, and you want to go pour a bowl of Fruit Loops because you don't want to deal with that father wound that you have. I mean, the body just it take care of itself because you won't do nothing. So this is what mindless eating is. You separated your spirit from your body, and you just let your body run rampant and do whatever it wants. Each one of these points could be a whole different episode. All right. Um, Here's another thing, another sign of gluttony. Your attitude toward food. And particularly I'm talking about how people act obsessive over food, outdone over food, lustful towards food. People be calling food sexy. Okay? Like that's how you know that this is turning to lust. Just an unchecked, unsatiable desire to just consume. So your attitude towards food, is it perverted? Is it all about the pleasure of it? Because it's really, if you really think about it, the way people act towards food is going towards sexual perversion. I can really see those connected. I need to think about that more. I need to read about that. Yahoo, I need you to give me an answer on that because I need to know why these commercials having all these sexy images with food. Got the Barry White deep voice talking about, oh yeah, over a burger. Like things are getting weird. Like I remember seeing a lady. I think it was a lady with a burger, and she was like sitting on a car. She was scantily clad, sitting on a car with her legs open, eating a burger all nasty. Like what exactly is happening here? Where are we going? So now my new question is, if you if you're in the spirit of gluttony, I'm connecting the dots. Sounds like the spirit of gluttony is also connected to the spirit of sexual perversion because they're both rooted in the spirit of poverty, which is believing that you have lack and you never have enough and you're never filled and never satisfied. So you just want more and more and more. It sounds like the same spirit that needs to be broken. See, it needs to be broken. You see how one spirit leads you to another. You ain't even know how. That's how they open doors to the next spirit. Okay, I'm trying to stay on track. I'm trying to stay on track. Okay, so like I said, acting all lustful towards food. Now let me tell you, it was this channel that I used to like to watch. I really like to watch it. And it was because this person, they know how to cook. Okay, they knew what they was doing. They cooked in a way that I, as a chef, I was like, this person know how to cook for real, for real. And I liked watching it because they were really, really funny, just really animated and colorful person. They could cook real good, and at the end of the video, they would have like a little mukbang of the food that they cooked. But it was like real food. You know what I mean? Okay, so that's why I like to watch it, and I love just watching what this person was gonna do next. But the way this person would act towards food when they were getting ready to eat it, it was almost sexual. Just like I'm telling you, like they just act like so lustful towards it, like oh my god, like this is so good, like. And I probably watched it. I may have watched follow this person for like 2 weeks or a month or something like that. But I remember I was watching the episode and I just heard the Ruach, here he come, here he come. No, the Ruach was just like gluttony. He ain't had to say nothing else. All I heard was gluttony. And I turned it off. I was like, yes. I know what he meant. He meant stop watching it. He meant the person that you're watching. There's a spirit of gluttony on here, and it's going to attach to you if you watch that kind of stuff. Stop watching it. Don't come into agreement with it. So even though I liked the person, I thought they were funny, I thought they were colorful, I thought they were creative, they were very skillful. I had to turn it off because they had a spirit of gluttony attached to them, and I was like, I can't have that on me. He was trying to save me. This was before he even told me that I eat too much. This was a few years before he told me that I eat too much. So that's another thing, how people act towards food. Another thing I want to talk about. I remember probably maybe like 7 years ago, maybe 8 years ago. I kind of was getting this feeling like I was sick of food. Like, mind you, let me give you a little bit of context. I've been into food all my life. I always liked to cook since I was little. And since eighth grade, I said I was going to be a chef. I went to culinary school. I became a chef. I've been cooking for many, many years. I've cooked thousands of meals, meals for my family, meals for my friends, catered meals, sold meals, meals for my community, catered stuff for free, catered stuff for pay. Like, I have cooked a lot of food, and I'm very good at what I do. So, and not only that, but uh, I've had all kinds of food, you know what I'm saying, that I like to eat, like going to restaurants, going to different restaurants. I used to love to go to different restaurants. I used to have this rule. I used to always tell my husband when we would go out, I would be like, look, wherever we go out, if I can make it, I don't want to go. I don't need to go to nobody's restaurant that's making nothing I can make myself. You got to take me somewhere where somebody can make something that I can't make. So we would go somewhere where somebody would make something that I did not know how to make. But just by eating their meal one time, I would learn how to make it, and I'm going to make it at home. And he used to say, you know, you don't have to remake everything that you have at a restaurant, right? I'm like, yes, I do. But anyway, that's just me. That's how I do. If I eat it, if I taste it, like the way that I learn stuff and learn different things is redoing it. If I liked it, I'm gonna redo it. So anyway, I'd eaten so many different things, been to so many different restaurants, had whatever I wanted, whatever I wanted. If I saw something that looked good, all I could see an image. I don't need the recipe. I go make it myself. um did all types of holidays, all types of random events. I remember we had a crawfish boil in my backyard before. Like, I remember I ordered some crawfish from Louisiana, overnighted it. Okay, this is back when I was eating unclean stuff. Overnighted it to my house. We cleaned them in the pool in the backyard. I didn't know nothing about no crawfish, nothing about no seafood, but I said, hey, I don't need to know nothing. I can figure it out. Had a crawfish boil. It was amazing. Celebrated every holiday when I was celebrating holidays. Celebrated every holiday, had everything in my house. Okay, now you understand what I mean when I was like, I'm getting sick of food. That's just how I started feeling. I just started feeling like food, like eating just not doesn't seem what it used to be to me before. This is what I'm feeling in my spirit. To my surprise, I remember laying in bed, and one day my husband just randomly said, food is played out. And I was like, and if you don't know what played out means, like if you ain't from the 80s or the 90s or the Midwest, or I don't know if everybody say that, but if you don't know what played out means, played out just means obsolete. It's getting old. I'm sick of it, tired of it. Okay, so there's no more excitement. So he was like, food is played out. And I was like, oh my God, like you spoke what I've been feeling. I said, I feel the same way. Like, I'm just feeling like I'm sick of food. Like, it's not that deep no more. I'm getting sick of, just tired of talking about it, thinking about it, eating, whatever. But this was the beginning of Yahuwah changing my diet. This is the beginning of him, like, letting me know, like, relax. It's not that deep. It's just food. Like, don't be so up in arms about food to the point where you will violate your body. Nothing wrong with enjoying his creation. Please enjoy the bounty. Please enjoy the flavors. Be creative as long as you're not being destructive. But not to the point where you're going to eat all hours of the night, anywhere, everywhere, anything, any ingredients, and act like you just going crazy over it. It's not that deep. All right, let's go to the next one. Signs that you have a spirit of gluttony connected to you. Constipation, meaning that you are having a difficult time eliminating waste. I'm not just talking about, oh, I'm just stranding on the toilet. I'm talking about toxins being backed up in your body, period. Okay, it might manifest as some excess belly fat or some inflammation. Maybe you're a little bit swollen, you know? And sometimes we don't even know that we're swollen because we've been eating it our entire lives. You don't even know you're swollen until you change your diet and be like I did, and was like, dang, is this how I'm supposed to look? That's crazy. So having waste backed up in our bodies and not being able to properly eliminate things, and you'll know that you have waste backed up because you're getting sick. You're getting sick. So if you have waist backed up and you can't eliminate waste properly, you're eating too much. That's one of the main reasons why Yahuwah was telling me you're eating too much. Forget about your weight. Forget about the fact that you're not gaining weight. You have some struggles in your body that you need to fix, and you can't fix them because you're always digesting. That's why he called me to begin to fast. As a matter of fact, listen, y'all started telling me to fast once a week in like 2016. But back then I was immature, and I wasn't trained and confident in his voice enough that I thought that that was just me thinking that. I thought I just came up with that, as if I would come up with fasting, as if I would choose to do that. Okay. But he told me way back then to fast once a week. And then I find myself here all the way now, finally becoming actually consistent with it. Just within the last year, I've consistently fasted once a week, no problem, right? And I'm used to it. It's not a dread anymore. I just, as a matter of fact, I kind of, kind of, a little bit look forward to it, just because I feel like it's a reset button for my week. So fasting is a way that you can eliminate waste. That's why, implement that. If you fast every week, at least your body like, dang, at least I get one day where I can get a rest and get some things out. Fasting once a week, not eating past a certain time. At first I said I was going to eat past 7, and then I said 6. Now it's becoming earlier. Sometimes I find myself eating not past 4 p.m., which is probably my ultimate goal. So creating some boundaries in your eating habit, where you're not going to eat before a certain time, after a certain time, on certain days. Just that alone will help you to eliminate waste. Right. So, like I said, the constipation is a sign of gluttony. And then the last one I have written down is excess weight. Obviously, if you are overweight and you have too much weight on your body, um, then that's a sign that you're eating too much. That's a sign of gluttony. Okay. And gluttony doesn't just mean, I think sometimes we don't identify with certain things because we always want to look at the extreme. Okay. For example, you don't tell nobody that they might have a demon or a spirit in them. Don't tell them that, because they think that it's supposed to be like exorcist. Okay. Like the head's supposed to be spinning around, their face gonna be green, they're gonna be throwing up, talking like this, right? And if you're not doing that, then I couldn't possibly, don't let me get into all that. Okay. But don't always think of the extreme. And that's the damage that Hollywood has done to the eyes of Yah's people, is that you think that anything connected to a negative, to an unclean spirit, is always the extreme thing that you see. So when you think of spirit of gluttony, you thinking of a 600-pound man sitting in the bed with his legs wide open, stuff in his mouth, and with crumbs everywhere. So that's the image that pops up when you think of gluttony. So you don't want to be associated with that. So surely I'm not gluttonous. Of course not. I don't eat that much. That's why we need definitions. Because if you read the definition, the habit of eating or drinking too much, simple enough. Nobody said you was 600 pounds. Nobody said you was eating with your bare hands. Nobody said that. You could be as civilized as you want. You can be as skinny as you want. You still may have a spirit of gluttony attached to you. I just came up with another one. Here's another way that you would know that, another sign of a spirit of gluttony, which is spirit of lack, which is spirit of poverty. Same thing. You eat because you're afraid of being hungry. So let's say it's like 5 o'clock, right? And the meal is being served. And then you know that at 5 o'clock you actually are not hungry. You don't even want to eat. But you go ahead and eat anyway, because you like, I don't want to not eat and then be hungry later on and it's too late to eat. So if I don't eat right now, I might end up hungry at like 9 o'clock, and I don't want to go to bed hungry, which you should be comfortable with going to bed hungry. That's them parasites telling you that you need to eat before you go to bed. Okay? And we're going to talk about eating before you go to bed, because that will cloud up your dreams and your clarity, and it makes you more prone to demonic attack because you're digesting in your sleep. So you go ahead and eat the meal, even though you're not really hungry. You go ahead and eat the meal anyway, so that you won't be hungry, just in case. Like you storing food up like you a squirrel. And that's even something I think is taught in childhood too. Your mama make you some food and you be like, well, I don't want to eat. You better eat this food right now, because you ain't getting nothing else after this. You kind of eat just because, out of fear that you're gonna be hungry later. Eating out of fear. You're afraid of lack. Unless you're in a situation where you actually might not get another meal for the next 3 days. There are some people in the world where they don't eat right now, then they actually might not eat for a few days because they actually got a serious problem, an actual poverty problem, not a poverty mindset, necessarily, but an actual problem with lack. Okay, I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about you can get food tomorrow. You can put your plate in the refrigerator and you still choose to eat the food right now just in case. That's fear. That's another sign that you have a spirit of gluttony attached to you. Excessive and eating or drinking, and you made this a habit in your life. So you have a habit of eating for taste, a habit for eating just because the time says you should, a habit of eating because you're afraid of being hungry, a habit of eating for entertainment, a habit of eating to soothe your strong emotions that you find difficult to deal with, a habit of eating mindlessly, a habit of when you have an attitude towards food that is like lustful and that is questionable and perverted, that you have constipation in your body, not meaning you just straighten on the toilet, but constipation meaning you have waste built up in your body that you have not eliminated, which is manifesting in sickness and inflammation in your body, and you have excess weight. These are signs that you are struggling and dealing with the spirit of gluttony. I'm laying a foundation for the next videos. Start praying about it, start thinking about it. Now, here's the practice. I want you to do what y'all had me to do. I want you to do what I began to do when he started convicting me of these things. Start observing your habits. I don't want you to start off trying to stop. Oh, I gotta stop doing it. I gotta stop doing it. Don't overwhelm yourself. Calm down. Relax. You know what I'm saying? Don't start feeling condemned the moment you decide, man, I really want to. If after you watch this video, you decide I want to eat this thing, I don't want you to condemn yourself for doing it. I don't. Because it's still there. You're just aware that it's there now. It's been there. You're just not aware of it. But as you're aware of it, I want you to start paying attention to it. And as you're paying attention to it, you're going to start formulating what you're going to do. You're going to start creating a protocol. You're going to start seeking the Most High, having him help you, show you what you should do, where you should set these boundaries at. So I don't want you to feel condemned. All right. He never gives you wisdom so that you can be in condemnation. The wisdom is to help you. All right. So immediately the first thing he's going to start, as you become aware, the first thing he's going to start doing, there's grace for you right there. So now that you are aware of what I'm telling you, have this knowledge, you are becoming accountable for these things, but there's grace for you. I mean, there's patience for you. And he is so gentle and he is so kind. And if he, listen, it take a while for y'all to get to a point where he'd be like, I done told you. He gives you multiple warnings, and in different ways and forms. And you will know. One of the ways you'll know when he's about that food, when you start having situations happen, like you get really sick. Like I've had times when he told me to stop eating something, and then I went back to it multiple times. And then when I knew my grace was running out, I would get instantly sick. Okay? I'm talking about the last time I ate too late, because it's been years now since I, have given up eating late at night. I don't eat late. Like I don't eat past like 7. That's the latest. But the last time I ate too late, I remember it was like 9 o'clock. I ate a big old veggie burrito. Why did I do that? I was so sick the next day, and I was driving out of town, and I was throwing up on the road. I had to pull over multiple times to throw up. That's how sick I was. And people are like, man, what's going on? Like, what's wrong with you? What happened? What's wrong? I was like, man, I'm thinking to myself, they're not even gonna believe me if I tell them. They're like, what's wrong with you? I ate too late. And that sounds ridiculous, right? When you look at it, you like, you throwing up today because you ate too late last night. Doesn't really make sense. Yes, it does. Because when you get your body in the place where you get out of toxic habits and your body gets used to operating the way it should, and then you try to bring that toxic habit back, your body is going to react violently. Okay? So here's a practice. Observe yourself. Observe your eating habits. I want you to, number 2, that was number 1. Number 2, ask yourself if you should be eating. Like, are you hungry? Is this the right time to eat? Is it too late? Is it too early? Is this good for me? Ask yourself if you should be eating at that time. And number 3, ask yourself if an emotion led you to eating that. And the more that you ask yourself those questions, you're going to become more and more conscious of what's going on. And then it's going to open your eyes, which will change your mind. That's all I want to talk to y'all about. Laying a foundation for what the spirit of gluttony is. We're going to talk about more about this later. My name is Katila Usuri. I'm a distributor of wisdom from Yahuwah. I speak it, I write it, and I model it. And I also want to invite you, if you are on a plant-based journey, if you want to eat plant-based and you want to elevate in your diet, I have a community that is for people who want connection, they want accountability, you want to grow, you want some of my recipes that I only release on that platform, then go to jointhatplantlife.com. Jointhatplantlife.com. Check it out. I'll put the link in the description. Good night, y'all.